am your host, Bel Hernandez Castillo, coming to you from our Los Angeles studios on the world-famous Sunset Strip, where Hollywood stories come alive. Our show walks you right into the world of Hollywood with the added personal touch that allows you to get to know our guests just a bit better. From the talent you know and love to the creative minds working behind the scenes, we bring you the passion, the hustle, and the stories that inspire. Today on Inside with Bel, we're celebrating the 25th anniversary of the groundbreaking TV drama Resurrection Boulevard, the series that gave Latino families a voice on primetime television when there was none.
Showtime presents the movie premiere of a powerful new original series. There's a place on the streets of LA, born of dreams, desperation, and desire.
Every man in this family since your great-grandfather has taken his turn at boxing.
You fight to succeed.
I left school. I'm gonna box.
He's giving up his dream. He's doing it for you.
And hope to survive.
Tell me which.
In the heart of Los Angeles lies the soul of a family.
All the Santiago's.
Michael De Lorenzo, Elizabeth Pena, Nicholas Gonzalez, Tony Plana. Resurrection Boulevard, a Showtime original series, premiering Monday, June 26th at 10 sharp, only on Showtime.
Resurrection Boulevard aired on Showtime for 3 seasons, and this year marks the 25th anniversary that left a legacy that still resonates today for many reasons. With an all-Latino cast playing non-stereotypical roles, which was rare at that time, Resurrection Boulevard ran for 3 seasons, and that in itself is a cause to celebrate, because any TV show airing past the first season is a success when you consider that the cancellations after season 1 are the norm. Roughly 65% or so of the new shows are canceled after season 1. Only 32% of new broadcast network shows make it to a second season. Resurrection Boulevard, created by writer-producer Dennis Leone, launched the career of several of the actors who were cast in lead roles. One of those actors is Nicholas Gonzalez. Born and raised in San Antonio, Texas, Nicholas was already a champion athlete before Hollywood came calling, winning state titles in cross country and track. After turning down a presidential appointment to West Point, he pursued an English career at Stanford University. He studied abroad at Oxford and Trinity College. Nicholas was on track to pursue a medical career, but destiny had other plans. He chose acting, and after graduation, it was his first lead role in Resurrection Boulevard that catapulted him into a career as an actor. Coming up next, my conversation with Nicholas Gonzalez. So don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Resurrection Boulevard, a TV show in the 2000s, is the show that launched the career of my next guest, Nicholas Gonzalez. Since then, our guest has gone on to do such great work, and I'm sure you've seen him on The Good Doctor and La Brea and so many other shows that he's done.
Yes, this can work. And it would be a great idea if the boy had 2 hours to live.
Is fear of failure a good reason not to do this?
No, just me. That's why I gotta find my plane, see if it can still fly.
You think it's possible?
I don't know. One of the engines went out right before I went through the light, but doesn't mean it won't work.
Come on. Is this where you go all bad lieutenant on us? Like you and Murphy were never made?
Yeah. You guys are famous.
How do you know that?
Well, we've done a full audit of the logs and intrusion systems, and there was no detection of any malware.
I'm gonna need verification of that.
¿Cómo se te ocurre? ¡Qué malo!
Ah, Senor Pritchett. Please, join us.
So let me welcome Nicholas Gonzalez. He's an actor, he's a producer, and he's my friend. Welcome to Inside with Bel, Nicholas.
I'm so happy to be here, Bel. Thank you.
I know it sounds easy, and you didn't just arrive in LA and land the role, I know that. But tell us a little bit about why you decided to move to Los Angeles and pursue an acting career. And also, how does one get their foot in the door once they're here in LA?
Well, I'm afraid my story started back in 1998, so I'm not really sure how people do it now, and especially in a business climate like ours is now. But, you know, in some ways it was that quick. In some ways it was that fortuitous. You know, it was something that was almost destined, I guess. But I graduated from Stanford a little early because, like a dummy, I couldn't wait to get out of there and move on with my career. I was doing a lot of acting, but really just as a hobby. It was something that I was doing on the side because I had all these tough classes. I was running cross country and track, and I was a kid that grew up on comedy, and I loved like improv and all these kind of shows that I would watch in San Antonio. So I got in an improv class in Stanford, and that's what got the interest going. And then that led to theater. And Alma Martinez, who we know and love, the incredible actress, happened to be there. And again, another stroke of destiny. And my first play I ever did at Stanford, a one-act play by Jose Rivera. And she came up to me afterwards and was like, "You need to continue in this. We need more young Latinos in this business. And I think you got what it takes." And she held my hand and introduced me to everybody in the theater scene in San Francisco. So, like a dummy, I couldn't wait to get out of school and race into the business. And I moved to LA to do theater, which, shows you how much I didn't really know. I would have been better off staying in San Francisco for that. But um, things very quickly took off.
So you get to LA and Alma helps you. Alma's awesome. She helps so many people. But it must have been hard to get started. I mean, even with help, how do you get known? And how do you find an agent? And how do you start auditioning? And by the way, what was your first audition?
Well, my first audition, I think, was my first audition actually took place in San Francisco. I auditioned to play Cheech's cousin, or like his nephew, who was starting a salsa line with the Family Recipe in that series he did with Don Johnson. And then I was brought back. I got a call back on my first one, and I didn't get the role, but it really lit a fire under me. And so when I moved to LA, my first audition was for, it might have been like I don't, now that I think about it, my first audition was probably, I think it was for like Roswell or one of those early kind of, everything was at the time when I moved to LA. Living La Vida Loca was the big song. Everybody wanted, Latino in a side role, or at least, an added. So it was something that I felt like, I was coming in at the right time. And I very quickly found out. But when I moved to LA, it was in the time where you would go to, I don't even remember the name of the bookstore that used to have all the labels for all the agencies. I would go in there and buy all the labels, like 200 some odd labels, and you just put headshot and resume, stamped them, and sent them off and hoped for a callback.
But what I want to know is how soon after you got to LA did you audition for Resurrection Boulevard?
The audition for Resurrection Boulevard came at the end of my first year in LA. It came at a time I was working on the show Undressed on MTV. I had had a lot of luck my first year. I had already started, I left, any other side job. I was waiting tables and stuff, but now I was working enough that I could leave. And at the end of my first year, the audition for Resurrection Boulevard came, and it was right, my grandmother had died just right at that same time, and I had to abandon the audition, go home, be with family. Didn't say I had to, I wanted to. And so it seemed like a missed opportunity. And lo and behold, a month later, they still hadn't found their guy. And they had been through 400 some odd people. There were boxing auditions. There were all this other stuff that I didn't even see because I came in at the 11th hour. And thankfully for that, Bob Moronis brought me in. We had a general. He showed me all the people on the wall who he wanted in the roles that I was auditioning for, which is the strangest thing. His dream cast, which I wasn't on there, but I got a chance. And thankfully, in my first audition, Dennis Leone and the director Jesus Trevino were present. And you asked them, and for me, it was almost like a clouds parted kind of moment. It was like a where have you been? Because I think what was hard about fulfilling the role of Alex Santiago was not only was he this championship boxer, but he was a medical student. He was the brains of the family who wasn't supposed to go into boxing. So it was kind of a difficult thing to find at the time, I guess. And it was perfect for me, and the rest is history.
That was what was so interesting about your character, Alex Santiago. He chose to go into the family business of boxing after he was studying to be a doctor. But, Resurrection Boulevard was about a lot of those family dynamics. And I found the series to have very, very strong Latina characters, which of course, that's always a plus for me. But tell me about those family dynamics and the beginnings of Resurrection Boulevard.
What was so, I think, unique about Resurrection Boulevard was that family dynamic. You know, you had veteran actors who were incredible, who had such a wide range. And then you had a lot of us newer actors, you know, that were cast. But Tony Plana, Elizabeth Pena, Michael De Lorenzo had already like made such names for themselves in this industry, being trailblazers. And then here they were as the, you know, heads of the family in a sense. And the us newer guys, it was great. I mean, because for me it was an acting class, you know. I mean, it was and I think that family dynamic, we were just, so many of us were new to it, with these veteran actors shepherding us, that it really felt like a family. You know, Tony Plana was a father to me on screen. He was a father in many ways off screen, as well as a teacher, you know. Elizabeth as well. It was that kind of thing that it really drew us close, I think, because of that dynamic, because of the veterans, because of the new, because of what we were doing, that a lot of them knew how important it was. They had been in the business for a while and had realized, like, you don't get opportunities like this. You know, us were thinking, wow, this is great. You know, my first series, I didn't realize that, you know, how great we had it. I didn't realize just how unusual this opportunity was, you know. And I'm a fan of TV myself. I grew up watching, and yet, you know, here I thought, you know, I didn't realize that we were being held back as much as, you know, we were. And here were the people that were fighting for it, you know.
Right. It was one of the only shows at that time that featured a Latina in a powerful profession as a lawyer. That was amazing to see. And there was also, like, the storylines were also about the culture, how they affected everyone else around them. The storylines were rich, and they resonated with so many people because they gave these actors also a chance to do something other than the criminal and the barrio mother. That's what was so important about this series.
And the things that we focused on, you know, Vietnam vets, that experience coming out afterwards. You know, Daniel Zacapa had a very special episode that specialized in that. I mean, but the breadth of the Latino experience in the United States, I really felt like we took that on. I mean, Resurrection Boulevard put me on such a great plane for success, in a sense that it also showed, like, hey, this guy can do drama, you know, and being a focal point of the show. And again, just being in that day to day for 3, you know, seasons, and being so much a part of the show that it was really a training ground for me. But it definitely put my name out there. And I believe it gave a little bit of a, you know, gave me the benefit of the doubt going into rooms of saying, well, this kid can do drama. And so that I think set me on a great course.
And let's talk about some of those roles. You have the Good Doctor, Dr. Neil Melendez, and that was a major big role. This series was so popular around the world. Tell us about, you were studying to be a doctor in Resurrection Boulevard. In The Good Doctor, you actually became a doctor. So tell us about that role.
Well, some fans have actually brought that together. They brought the old photos of Alex in medical school and said, oh, this is Melendez when he was in medical school, you know, and kind of taken that as the track of what Alex ended up doing, and he became Melendez, which is really funny when you think about it. I hadn't in the beginning. But medicine has always been an interest of mine. My brother's a surgeon. My father is as well. He was a dermatologic surgeon, pediatrician before that. 2 very brainy, very direct, blunt, but amazing mentors and doctors in their own right, my brother and father. But they became that template for me for how I was going to play Melendez, because I knew these guys. I grew up with them. I grew up with Melendez, you know. So for me, it was a culmination of so many things that interest. I definitely thought about becoming a doctor quite a bit, and went a very different route. And so Melendez was a way for me to almost cosplay that life, you know, which is very annoying for my brother, I think, because people are like, who's your favorite doctor, you know, and they'll say me, and he's like, all right, well, don't call me next time you need a prescription for anything. But it's been it's been an amazing calling card, I think, too, in this business. There was a lot of attention. Freddie Highmore, of course, gave an incredible performance, and it just, of course, brought a lot of attention to the show. And I think the things that Melendez got to do, it was a very important character, I believe, too, for Latinos in entertainment. Because Melendez was achieving at such a high level and was such a focal point with the show that I feel like it was just real strong character for young kids to see, for our people to see, him being Latino was the main thing about him, but it wasn't the thing that we talked about all the time. It was who he was, and it made him who he was. But it was just great writing.
And then you also played a United States Air Force pilot in La Brea. Levi Delgado was your character name. That's another big show that you did. I think it ran more than 3 seasons, correct?
Well, that was 3 seasons too. That's kind of my thing. I'm a 3-season guy. So if you want your show to go 3 seasons, um, but La Brea was 3, and we shot in Australia, and that was even during their lockdown. So I not only was involved in our lockdown during COVID, but did another one over there where I was considered a emergency worker, and we were going to work while the rest of the country was in lockdown. That was a very tough time. I was away from my family for about 5.5 months, but playing Captain Levi Delgado was, I feel, another very, I mean, he was the best pilot that they could go to when they came down to rescuing these people down there. These guys were fighter pilots who had veterans of wars who were also just the top performing, and the fact that they made him Latino, I felt very proud of, and felt very proud to play that role, because it was a role where Levi was a very good, honorable man caught in a less honorable position. And so really kind of investigating that dichotomy. And again, I think playing somebody who could very easily be disliked, like Melendez in the beginning, and becoming a fan favorite again. So it was a really cool process.
That was the other fantastic thing about Resurrection Boulevard. Guest stars, like you mentioned, it was just amazing. This was the show to be on, and it should.
I mean, we had Ruben Blades came on, and like music, as well as just kicked the doors off as an actor. Julio Oscar Machoso, who was absolutely incredible, another amazing talent that we lost. We're going to be celebrating him and his work. We had so many people come through that. I know Brian Austin Green was, part from the second season, which was an interesting ad. But so many people came through that show. And I remember one of the things that Dennis Leone always used to say about it. He's like, we got so many, Latinos in front, behind, on top, on the sides of the camera. So it's an exciting time, and to come together and celebrate that, which I'll tell you, I haven't had an experience like that since.
Yeah. So you mentioned Dennis Leone. He was the creator of the show. So talk a little bit about him, the creator of Resurrection Boulevard.
Well, Dennis is from Tucson area. He was originally also worked a lot in Hawaii and Hawaii Five-0, and noted stuntman on and off horseback. And he'll tell you about it. Mountain of a man, and just a beautiful human being who I really credit so much my career to, and for him taking that chance on me. But he had to fight really hard, for this story, and so many different things that they wanted to change about it and take away. That he's always been such a strong proponent for Latinos in the industry, and especially with Resurrection Boulevard.
Congratulations beforehand on the celebration of the 25th anniversary of Resurrection Boulevard. So is there a plan to maybe stream Resurrection Boulevard somewhere? I know there's a lot of shows that have been doing that. So what do you think? Is that going to happen for Resurrection Boulevard?
That's the biggest question I get. And unfortunately, the only thing you can watch right now is not streaming, but if you get a hold of one of the DVDs from the first season, that's all that's available. I believe the biggest problem now in getting it out is the music rights, and that it would have to be changed out, which can be done, but no one seems to be doing yet. I know Dennis has fought for it quite a bit. I had a pile of VHS tapes, which I finally sent off because I was so afraid of, like, how do I leave these anywhere and trust anybody, but I sent them off to be put onto a little. I had boxes, Bell, of VHS
Nice.
tapes that are now on a little stick are the other two seasons of Resurrection Boulevard. So who knows? My wife hasn't even seen the show, so I'm very excited about her coming to the premiere. I wish my kids were a little bit older and could come along too, but it's going to be very exciting.
So, Nicholas, where can we follow you? We want to know what you're up to. We want to know about your next show. We want to know about your next projects that you're working on as a producer. So, where are we going to follow you?
Well, my Instagram is really easy to remember. It's El Tex-Mex. The Tex is Mexican, ELTEXMEX. And that's probably one of the best places to find me and what I'm up to. Right now, I tell you what, the industry is at a record slowdown. And in some ways, it's been great because it's forced a lot of pivots, and now working on and developing my own projects, which I never seemed to have the time for because I was always working on someone else's. And that's been one of the most exciting things. I've teamed up with a writer that I went to Stanford with who's now sold 33 novels. She based one of her characters off of me. And here we are all these years later, and I'm going to play that character. Her and I are writing the screenplay, which is actually done, and, barring some editing, and working together with another Resurrection Boulevard alumni, Yvette Yates. Her and her husband,
Yes.
Sean Reddick from Impossible Dream Entertainment, who are two Oscar-winning producers who approached me and said they'd love to work together on something, and I found this project, and it's been really exciting. So we're very excited about what's coming up next with that. And also, my wife is an incredible writer, and not only for me, but for other things. She's got a book out there. So many exciting things happening with us that now we're working together too. So very, very exciting. And I'll keep everybody posted. I also just finished the audio book for the third book in that series that we're doing. It's called Kiss Me Amor. And it's from Alana Quintana Albertson, is a woman that I went to Stanford with. And it's a romance novel. And I just finished voicing it yesterday. And that'll come out soon. And it is pretty racy. I didn't realize romance was as racy as it is. I thought it was just romantic.
No,
But
it's got to be racy nowadays.
the book series follows three brothers, and I'm voicing the third one, which is the youngest brother, but I actually play the oldest brother, Ramon Montes. And the one I'm reading this one is Jaime Montes. So it should be really fun. Kiss Me Amor is the book, and then the one that we're writing the script for is Ramon and Julieta Love and Tacos.
Nicholas, thank you so much for joining us and talking about your career and talking about this special event that's happening with Resurrection Boulevard. I want to congratulate you and all of the cast and Dennis Leone for an amazing milestone that you created back then that is still relevant and vibrant nowadays.
Well, Belle, I have to tell you, it's so fitting that you and I are the ones talking about this, because you and Latin Heat and Kike have been some of our biggest supporters from the beginning with my career, with my family. I owe so much to you and so many of our beautiful friends that have been there from the beginning and still are here now. So thank you, thank you, thank you, Belle, Latin Heat, and everyone that's watched and supported us over the years.
Welcome back. What rich television lore that was. Thank you so much, Nicholas, for sharing with us. Back in the early 2000s, there were not that many TV shows telling Latino stories. Resurrection Boulevard was just one of them, but there were others. They include The Brothers Garcia, a generational story created and written by Gibby Ceballos, Mike Ceballos, Jeff Valdez, and it premiered just 3 days after Resurrection Boulevard. ABC's George Lopez, a comedy starring comedian George Lopez, ran for 6 seasons, 2002 to 2007. American Family, a drama set in Boyle Heights, created and directed by Gregory Nava, which aired from 2002 to 2004. And even before these shows, there were other pioneering Latino family TV shows that paved the way. They include the comedy AKA Pablo in 1984, starring comedian Paul Rodriguez. And on the Spanish language TV network Telemundo, there was Los Beltran in 1998. These shows, for the most part, have been forgotten, but they were the shows that paved the way for more TV shows about Latinos. Every single one of these shows mentioned deserves to have their own reunion. They are that important in the representation of Latinos on TV today.
It was in our genes that no matter what happened in the world, the Garcias would always support each other.
Tuesday, B. Arthur becomes Pablo's press agent.
Mission Impossible.
For now, we are thrilled to be celebrating Resurrection Boulevard's 25th year milestone and the impact this show made on its actors' lives, as well as the lives of their audiences, knowing that they were represented in a positive light. So we celebrate with them. Thank you so much, Nicholas, for joining us today, and thank you for watching. Until next time.